I'm supposed to talk?
Yeah, welcome to the NACL, everybody. We're happy to be here. I'm belligerent. With me tonight is Endless, and he's lost right now, so give him a break.
I'm lost because I was told to do play-by-play, and you know what? As the color caster, I think you introduce everyone.
No, that's not how it works. Play-by-play does all the talking. I just analyzed. But we're having a nice little argument why we are waiting on the draft to get started for these two teams that we have for you tonight in our matchup. It's going to be Team Hazard versus TuHotTuStress.
True.
So, what kind of draft do you expect to come out of these guys? I don't know them very well, so I don't know what to expect. I just hope there were some well thought out drafts.
Here we go. Getting into the draft. First band Saw. Okay.
Well, that's a throwaway band unless they know something about TuHotTuStress that we don't. But the only reason you ban Saw is a throwaway band. All right, and this is going really quick. Box banned by TuHotTuStress and Koshka picked up by Hazard.
Yes.
What do you think of the Koshka first pick?
I mean, that early game aggression, I guess, trying to, the rhyme to counter that Kashka, correct?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people like to try to do. I personally do not like Rhyme into Koshka because a good Koshka will just dance circles around him. And so he'll never really be able to take advantage of the Frost Guard perk to fortify his health. So I have always questioned the Rhyme into Koshka. I know that's how a lot of people try to counter her.
And we're out of
And
draft.
apparently something happened with draft. There must have been a miscommunication or something. So we can still spend some more time. What do you think of the Rhyme pick into the Koshka?
I'm not sure if, I guess it depends who the Kashka's paired up with when it comes to the captain on that side. I haven't seen Rhyme in ranked a lot, at least on my tier. Not sure if it works on the higher tiers, but if you don't, like you said, if you don't dance around that Rhyme and avoid the spirals she throws out, that can be kind of difficult.
Now, if they pick up a Catherine here with their second pick, that could work well because you stun the Catherine once she dives in, and that gives Rhyme a chance to get the root off. So we're right back, and there's the captain or the Catherine pick. Like I thought, I would like to see a Lance pick here, just to give that Koshka some distance. I think that would be a good captain pick for them.
Not going to see that old time Fortress Kashka.
Or the Grace, I think, would be another good match. But we see the Lyra instead, which is interesting because the Bulwark isn't going to really be effective here. I don't see the Lyra being necessarily having the greatest synergy with Koshka into a Rhyme and a Catherine because even Bulwark just slows down the Merciless Pursuit. It doesn't stop it.
It doesn't stop it, right?
So, and we're going to round it off with Kestrel, which will be a weapon Kestrel in the lane. And Gwen, that's not a laner that you see come out very often.
I mean, the Skedaddle to maybe block that, the Yummy Cabinet Frenzy from that Kashka. That may be the good counter to that Kashka in the lane there. But yeah, we have not seen Gwen much around in the lane.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's playing to a weakness that particular player has. But other than Kashka, the side of Hazard has really no crowd control. So a simple reflex block or even a Crucible would shut down that Kashka. But if they know that they're weak on the reflex blocks there, then maybe having that Skedaddle helps negate that.
Yeah, so we're getting into the Halcyon Fold to start this matchup. It'll be interesting to see how each team starts their rotation. If we'll see that early, that early aggression coming out of Team Hazard.
Yeah, I think they're really going to need to push their advantage early with Koshka being one of the strongest junglers in the early game, but Ryan can definitely hold his own. And coupled with a Catherine, it's going to be very difficult for Koshka to do the dancing that I was talking about. So we'll see if they can pull it off, see if they're comfortable with it.
Yeah, we see maybe Lyra does pop and steal. No, she doesn't. Abscon does not go ahead and steal that away. Both laners up in the lane here, just farming away, trying to get that CS up. Not much aggression coming out of Lux on that Kashka. He's gonna rotate up to the lane here.
Yeah, it looks like we might try and get this early gank off here.
There's the movement speed, maybe a little bit Twirly Death, not going to do enough damage. Lux is just going to jump in and jump back out. Maybe port home, pick up some items.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, Endless, I'm not a big fan of that speed boost that they tried to do. Koshka doesn't need that. She has that dive that closes the gap. And by throwing down that sigil there early, that just made Stick Up aware that they were there in the bush.
So there we just saw the healing flask. Absolutely saved Stick Up's life. It cost Koshka. That may be something we're going to see players not used to yet, is that healing flask, giving that like almost a reflex block worth.
Right. With the it does more than healing, which a lot of people don't realize. It does give you a little bit of barrier there as well. And we did see the stun come out from Hot Noodles, which locked down that Koshka, which prevented the dive and the dance out that a Koshka player is going to want to do, which cost her the first kill.
But yeah, as you were saying, Abscon throughout his Imperial Sigil to get the movement speed instead of saving it for maybe when Koshka needed the movement speed to leave that fight. So maybe, he should hold on to that too a little longer instead of trying to give Koshka that movement speed. Let her, use that Pouncy Fun to get the engage and instead of, using the Imperial Sigil to engage.
Right. Absolutely. And here we see some engagement on the backs there. And I think Lux stole one of those away, if not both.
Maybe Kosh is going to continue to get this aggression. Rhyme needs to be careful, though, because Catherine does not seem just now starting to make a rotation down to help their jungler. Rhyme does go down, though. So Lux finally using that aggression to maybe try to get some camps, steal start advantage, going to dive back in on top of Stick here. Stick is going to go down. Lux is doing absolutely some work over here in the enemy jungle. He's going to get that Imperial Sigil movement speed and maybe get out of here, steal some more camps, hopefully port back and start his rotation again.
And you can see there that it is very necessary to have the team fighting aspect for the TuHotTuStress with that Koshka, because one-on-one, Catherine has no peel. Once her stun is down, Koshka's going to go right past her, and Rhyme really doesn't have any way to grab a hold of that Koshka without the stun help from the Catherine. So because they caught them in that split situation, Koshka was able to get the upper hand.
Right. So maybe some vision to come out of Hot Noodles here to help the Rhyme. Koshka can time up the rotation here. Maybe Koshka can always be able to know when the backs are up, when the mid is up. We see a lot of pro players, time that rotation and be able to always be there when that mid is up to try to continuously steal away that mid treant.
Yeah, and that's one thing that a lot of the pro players do know, but it is something that's several players are not aware of or don't take quite as seriously as they need to. If you can constantly set up your rotations to steal the other team's mid, that can definitely help you get the early game advantage.
We do have the first power spike from Rhyme. We have that Eva Harvest coming through.
Yeah, we do have the Eva Harvest coming through, which will give him a little bit more sustain, but it's not a ton of damage. So that's really going to negate some of the barrier that he gets from his Frostguard perk, because that's based on damage done, not on crystal power or anything like that. It's just based on the damage that he does.
So you think 2 Gang should probably be going for Broken Myth next?
Yeah, I would like I would like to see a Broken Myth, or I'm even okay with a Shatterglass. Rhyme does have slow built into his basic attacks. It's part of his perk, his heroic perk. So the Frostburn can go either way, but Frostburn or Shatterglass should definitely. Oh, I'm sorry, Broken Myth. Frostburn not necessarily the greatest pickup on a Rhyme.
We do see Stick Up almost go down there. Wasn't engaged from Lux, and Neglect throwing out those Glimmer shots, trying to poke out Stick Up. Once again, using that healing flash. Here comes Luxon, though. Back from behind. He's going to jump on Stick, and he is going to jump on Stick Up, and Stick Up is going to go down. Luxon avoids the Valkyrie, comes back on, throws the stun on top of 2 Gang. Is it going to be the team ace? It is going to be the team ace. Luxon goes ahead and gets that triple kill.
Yeah, and you just see here that TuHotTuStress just doesn't seem to have the team synergy to handle this Koshka. She's just too much early game. I mean, they do have the comp, if properly executed, between the Merciless Pursuit and the route that comes out of the Rhyme to be able to lock her down and take her down, but they're just spread out too much. I think Hot Noodles is probably using his Merciless Pursuit a little too freely. on other heroes. And in this, against this comp and against this early game Koshka, you really just need to save it for when she dives in, because Catherine gives her team literally no other peel once that stun is down.
Yeah, we see Neglect once again being able to throw out those glimmer shots, really poke out Stick Up. Stick Up's going to be careful to not take too many of those shots to the face. We do see Abscon standing still. He is back. Okay, good. Didn't know if he was maybe DC'd for a moment, but he's still there. We see Luxon rotating up. We may be seeing a team fight here. Stick Up once again, half health, needs to be careful.
Yeah, and we really need to see Stick Up go back to base. He keeps pretending like he's going to port, but he's still in lane. He hasn't completed a tier 3 item. Neglect isn't far off from his second one. He really needs that power spike. Finally ports back. But that's really hurting them in lane, especially when you're feeling all of that pressure. But when you can alleviate that pressure, you need to take advantage of it and fall back, get a shop in.
Yeah, we are going to see Hazard. Looks like they are going to pick up this gold mine. They do get an immense gold payout, almost to 400. The gold lead right now, about 3,000. So, team, how they need to be careful, not let this gold lead get too far ahead.
Yeah, and notice here from Hot Noodles that he seems to be going after the Storm Crown second item, which is a questionable call. It seems a little aggressive, especially when you're playing off of the back foot. I would prefer, and I know that a lot of Catherine players like to go after that, but I would prefer to see like a contraption, because that gives you even more cooldown, and it's going to help you avoid these ganks from the Koshka that's just been destroying TuHotTuStress.
Speaking of ganks, here comes Luxon back up, but once again, Stickup's going to be able to have to use her Skedaddle perfectly. They have no reflexes on that side, so they're going to have to be careful not to get locked down by that Yummy Cabinet Frenzy. Here we go. On top of Stickup, Luxon is going to use this Twirly Death. The Aces High does go wide. Rhyme does go down, though. Once again, Neglect is sat back. There comes the... Ooh, Koshka does fall.
Yeah, a little over aggression there from Lux, but then Stick Up walks right into a face full of glimmer shots from Neglect, and they trade that kill back.
Active camo was set up perfect there. They walked right into that, unfortunately.
Yeah, but that's a good point that you made there. There is 0 reflex blocks on the side of TuHotTuStress, and nowhere near any type of crucible coming out of Hot Noodles. So I'm not exactly sure. Item priorities here are a little questionable, because you have this Koshka. She's at level 9, so she's been at level 6 for quite a while, and no reflex blocks to avoid that. Stick Up is really the only one with a reason not to, because she does have the Skedaddle to get out of it. But the other two need definitely a reflex block. A Crucible would be really good at this point.
Yeah, Luxon going a little deep. 3v1 right here. Looks like he may be in trouble. Seems like he's going to get out. Here comes Abscon. Maybe to throw out that Imperial Sigil to save him. Stick Up uses the boot. Stick Up is going to get the Luxon. Luxon was a little too aggressive there. Maybe thought he was gonna be able to dive in and then get back out, but that was not the case. Tungang, he takes a Scout Trap and a shot to the face. Ace's High does come out. Stealth from Neglect. The active camo thrown down perfectly, but Neglect does not get the right positioning. The spirals from TuHotTuStress was just too strong. Abscon needs to be careful here not to get the team ace. He's just going to throw his Imperial Sigil and say, "Come and get me."
Yeah, and that team fight was really kind of sloppy from the side of Hazard. The Koshka goes down, and then Neglect and Abscon weren't even grouped up, weren't even positioned in a way to try to take on a 3v2. So they just kind of hung around to give them give TuHotTuStress some extra kills there.
Yeah, and then we are level 8 here for Hot Noodles, and Blast Tremor needs to maybe start being an item that we see thrown out to maybe start an engage, maybe to force Abscon to actually use that Crucible.
Yeah, definitely. And I would like to see an Echo come out from Hot Noodles. I would still like to see reflex blocks on the side of TuHotTuStress. So just some very questionable item builds at this moment right now.
Yeah, we do see Team Hazard starting the gold miner back up. I think they may be aware of it. They are pushing the lane though, maybe to force them off the gold miner. I'm not sure. They're going to leave. They're probably going to get this and then hurry up and rotate up to try to save turret. Hot Noodles though is waiting in the bush perfectly. We may see a blast stream coming out. Hot Noodles. The stun does come out. Luxion is a little low already. Neglect needs to be careful as well. Ace is high. Does land on Luxion. Luxion is gonna. The fountain does save her with the active camo perfectly. Look at that. They just go ahead and turn this fight around. Is Luxion going to go down? Luxion does go down with his rhyme, but they are going to get the ace. They are going to be able to get these minions down and maybe push lane. There is already 2 turrets down, though.
Yeah, and you see there that the side of Hazard wasn't really concerned about that first turret. With the new changes in 2.8, the Crystal Sentry, or I'm sorry, the Gold Miner is now worth more than that tier 1 turret.
Right. Maybe seeing a little more engaged here. Hot Noodles just taking a few glimmer shots. 3/4 health down. Neglect just going to sit right here. Active camo. Throw out those glimmer shots. Ascon feels comfortable enough without Luxion to keep him alive. Rhyme though does come in, try to throw out that the chill wins. Doesn't necessarily land. He needs to be careful though. 353 crit is huge damage right now coming out of Neglect.
Yeah, and Neglect is dealing, this weapon Castrol just hits like a truck, especially once she gets to that 4th item that I expect Neglect will be building. Luxion finally picks up a shield, although I think I would have rather seen her in armor just because it seems to be Stick Up that's doing the most of the damage to the Koshka at the moment. But very little in the way of defense on the side of Hazard.
Yeah, it looks like that 4th item is going to be a tornado trigger for Neglect. Neglect, 0 defense items right now, and definitely needs to be focusing on position. It looks like Hazard here is trying to force a port back from, looks like actually Stick Up is just going to rotate back up. I'm not sure if this is the smartest idea. They're going to take down this choke point turret. They're going to rotate back down. Luxion's going to look to maybe get a dive in, but, they're just going to keep pushing. I don't know why they're not porting. Tongue Gang does port home. 2 Gang does, but that it does not matter. Here comes Luxion in, gets stunned out, or the Merciless Pursuit does land. But it's not doing much. Stick Up is in the wrong side of his base. He's going to go down. It does not. He survives. Stick Up with a little kiting there on top of that Koshka. I'm kind of surprised he survived that.
Yeah, and there's just really at this point not much TuHotTuStress can do as a team. I mean, if you look, Neglect is at 3 tier 3 items, almost 4, and Stick Up has 2 tier 3 items, and not even close to a third. Same
Right.
thing in the jungle. Luxion has the 3 tier 3 items, and the Rhyme only has the Eve of Harvest, just finished the Aegis as defense, but only 1 tier 3 offensive item. There's just too much damage on the side of Hazard right now.
Yeah, I feel like 2 Gang, if that is the correct pronunciation, is he's really not doing much damage in these fights right now. I mean, if he's landing his spirals perfectly with the wind chill or the chill winds like paired up perfectly, we do have engage here though going right now. 2 Gang, he's already down. Stick Up's trying to come from behind. The Ace's High does land on Luxion, but I don't think it's going to do much damage. He already getting 323. He goes down. Hot Noodle's going to go down. Another team ace, and this is probably going to be a push to try to win this game.
That should be game. There isn't, I mean, the death timers aren't that long, but with the damage that Neglect is putting out now with 4 tier 3 items, there's not going to be anything that Hazard can do here. And I just really didn't like the Ryan pick into this Koshka. And if you are going to go Ryan pick, you have to go tanky. And it just didn't seem like 2 Gang was very comfortable on the Rhyme. So I don't know if it's a comfort pick for him or not. It didn't feel like it was a comfort pick. It felt like it was more forced out of necessity as in an attempt to counter the Koshka. I would have rather seen like a weapon Grumpjaw come out or something that a Batiste could even have countered that Koshka.
Yeah, I mean, counters are good, but if you're not good with the hero you pick to counter them, then you're probably still going to lose. So, you'd rather pick someone you're comfortable with.
Absolutely. So just a dominating performance by Hazard, a 40 CS difference in the lane, as well as a 2 tier 3 item difference.
Yep. So GG's to both team. We'll go ahead and wait for the second game to start back up. Definitely was an interesting draft though, coming out of TuHot. Maybe seeing some of these more standard heroes. I know we are in 2.8. Not much is known about this current meta, so maybe just some of the more standard heroes that we've seen be successful in past metas.
Yeah, and I think that the Koshka first pick, unless that is, I mean, that just must be their strong comfort pick. But a first pick Koshka, especially on A side, is very risky. They could have picked a Lance to counter it. They didn't. They could have picked a Grumpjaw to counter it. They didn't. They didn't pick any of the traditional Koshka counters. Like I said, I don't like Rhyme as a Koshka counter, although it's what people try. When I was with Gangstars during the spring season, it's what G2 tried on us in the championship finals, or in the semifinals, I'm sorry. But I just don't care for the Rhyme into the Koshka unless you have a godly Rhyme and only a so-so Koshka.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just hard to try to a hero that should work into another hero, but sometimes you just have Koshka that gets fed like that and can just buy 2 shatter glasses and a broken myth and just run around and even though Koshka was kind of dying, actually we saw late game, we saw neglect just not being touched, so just throwing out insane amount of damage. But we are going to jump into the second game. Let's go ahead and start breaking down this draft.
So I would like to see a more meta band Vox comes out. Maybe they know something about Hazard liking to play Vox. And then Hazard clearly showing a preference for the Koshka. They really have strong feelings about this Koshka pick because they first picked it on A side. Now they ban it on B side. It's not a highly contested hero. Recently, there's so many shutdowns for her right now with the Batistes and the Catherines and the Lance and the Grace. There's just so many ways to counter the Koshka. She's just fallen out of meta. So a Fortress first pick here. What do you think of that?
I'm not sure I would like to see Fortress first picked. Normally, we're not really seeing Fortress being like a priority like that. The next 2 picks, that Scarf is someone that we've seen have a dominant late game. A late game Scarf 4 items can be extremely deadly. Luxion's going to go into that Catherine.
Yeah, and see, I question the Catherine pickup here. We'll have to see what comes out of TuHotTuStress as far as the rest of their draft, but a Fortress pick indicates to me that you want to dive, and there the Grumpjaw is going to show that we want to dive even more. And Catherine just can't handle a significant diving comp. One dive she can handle, but she has no peel. Lance would have been better into that comp to definitely provide some CC there. And so a Saw last pick for the side of TuHotTuStress with really nothing to protect him.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. I really think Hazard just destroyed this draft for the side of TuHotTuStress.
Yeah.
I don't understand the Saw pick. Clearly, these two teams know each other, and maybe that's why the Saw ban came out in the last game.
Yeah.
But Saw picked into Scarf, Celeste, and Catherine. I don't know what Saw is going to do other than die in this game, but maybe Stick Up is just a phenomenal Saw. But I mean, those are like all of the traditional Saw counters all on one team with no CC on the other side. They can dive and blow up Scarf and Celeste.
Yeah, I mean, is this going to be that weapon power Grumpjaw with that, that shank saw?
We'll have to wait and see which way they go. They both start off with a weapon blade, but it is very common for a crystal carry, whether it be in the jungle or in the lane, to start off with that weapon blade just to help the farm. So we'll have to see which direction they go, and it looks like it's going to be a double crystal on the side of Hazard.
Yeah, I mean, Hazard could go a weapon route. I don't. Who would you pick to be your weapon?
No, they didn't. They didn't pick anybody to go weapon, which is fine. You just don't often see the double crystal.
Right.
I think it can work. We see double weapon work quite often. Double crystal can work as well. it just really gives the other team kind of an upper hand because they only have to prioritize one defensive item.
Right. I mean, we already see Neglect absolutely bowling out Stick Up. Abscon just sitting there throwing out his merciless pursuits. Neglect's just normally a Saw is the one kind of dominating that early game lane, making the other laner kind of be wary. But Neglect's just saying, step up. I'm gonna hit you with my my Spitfire and just keep poking you down. And we already have a full man rotation coming up here. We're going to see, TuGang already going in. Here comes the stun on top of Stick Up. Stick Up does not stand a chance. He's going to go down that, Election, just absolutely throwing out those Heliogenesis already. He's going to go back and get his first items already.
Yeah, I don't really know how this draft is going to work for TuHotTuStress, but on top of it, we do see now. I'm glad after he died, he went back and picked him up. But Saw having the boots, you got to have some type of mobility if you're going to try to go Saw versus a Scarf, because if you can't make those Spitfires and those Goops somewhat difficult to land, you're not going to have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like still not quite sure what route Stick Up's going to go. We may see a double crystal versus a double weapon. I mean, that'd be pretty interesting to see. Obviously, we have not seen a Grumpjaw be weapon or, that cooldown Grumpjaw. We have not seen that one in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. I was never really a fan of the cooldown Grumpjaw. I see Grumpjaw as a brawler, not necessarily made for that Aftershock Stormcrown build. That's why the tension bow double monocle was such a powerful build for him, because he would brawl and he would burst you down, and I was never a fan, because after that initial burst on that Aftershock Stormcrown build, there was just no other damage for Grumpjaw to put out.
Right. Yeah, we do see, a full man rotation coming out of TuHotTuStress. They kind of rotate up. It's kind of maybe force Apps kind of go back. He's probably going to stick around to try to keep Neglect safe until he kind of gets all these minions. They're both going to go home. We see, Luxion, he's still just farming away in the jungle. He's kind of have a free range so far of jungling. He needs to be careful, though, here. There is a rotation coming down from Stick Up and TuGang. Stick Up does throw. The core collapse is going to go down and Stick Up. Stick Up needs to be careful, though. These Heliogenesis right now from Luxion are huge if he's not careful. Truth of Two has come out. Stick Up does rotate around, but the Ascon does hit the Merciless Pursuit with the Supernova combination. He is going to go down. Here comes Neglect with the rotation. Maybe just pick up this Elder Tree and, farm, steal these camps away and rotate back.
Yeah, and I think that was just the case of TuHotTuStress thinking they had an opening there on the Celeste, and they may actually pick up the kill here as TuGang is pushing in hard on Luxion.
Luxion seems to be just hiding away perfectly.
And this time they are going to fall back. I think they just got a little too hungry there at the dinner table when they saw that they had the 2v1. But a Saw having to chase somebody is just not the route you want to go, especially
definitely not.
Somebody like a Celeste.
Stick Up needs to be careful here. Neglect is throwing down those Spitfires perfectly. He needs to be careful of that goop combination. Here comes TuGang up, though, with the rotation. Neglect is low, taking some turret shots to his face. He's sticking around, though. There you go. Goop on top of Stick Up. The Solar Storm from the jungle comes up and hits Stick Up. A little cocky there. That vision. I'm sure he wasn't thinking Luxion was level 6 already.
Yeah, and that was a great Solar Storm coming out of Luxion there. And they just... I want to go back to just a little bit ago, right before that fight in the jungle that we had. TuHotTuStress had pressure in the lane. They had Neglect push back. Abscon was porting back, and Stick Up and TuGang were full, and they chose to turn around and not put pressure on that turret. You're a weapon Saw. Your only job is to put pressure on that turret, and they were in a perfect position to, and they just gave up the advantage. And as we can see here, it started early. It's still continuing, except for that one time. They're just struggling to get some kind of advantage in the lane.
Yeah, I mean, they do have all 3 members of Hazard low right now, so they maybe could push this advantage a little bit. But, if Luxion's going to be able to sit back and throw out those Heliogenesis perfectly, then they really have nothing to worry about. Stick Up is struggling to be able to auto attack anyone with Scarf and Celeste with the range advantages they have.
And they're focusing on the kill. Get the turret. That's what Weapon Saw does.
But yeah, now luck their stick up is possibly getting ready to die here. Not really. There he goes. Two gang. He's gonna go down. The goop comes down. Luxon throws down a questionable suppressing fire and another solar storm. Yep. You can't just sit still like that. You need to be running around unless you're gonna, accept that solar storm that's gonna hit you right in the face.
I feel like that was complete deja vu. Same play,
Same place.
same play, same people.
I mean, if if it's not broke, don't fix it. So
Well, it is broke for TuHotTuStress as we see him Scott and get another stack there. 17 stacks in 6 minutes. That is phenomenal. Almost 3 stacks a minute. Usually 2 is about the gauge that you want to go for as your average throughout the game. And he's at 3 right now. So
yeah, see, Hot Noodles, he was already half health by the time he jumped in. There's really no point in jumping at that time. Hot Stick Up, he's sitting back, trying to get on auto attacks. It's not working. Luxon and Neglect are just throwing out their abilities. Two gang, once again, he's going to go down. They're going to push this turret, possibly rotate down, and get some objectives.
And we talked about this last match as well for the side of TuHotTuStress. And again, they have a double stun comp right here with the goop that might as well act like a third stun, because once you've been stunned twice, if a goop is under you, you're not going to be able to run away. And no reflex blocks. I would take that back. Two gang just completed a reflex block a few minutes ago, but neither of the carries with reflex blocks. The Saw doesn't have a reflex block. There's no way Saw is going to be able to function against this comp that is basically every counter in the game to Saw without having a reflex block, so you can at least negate one of those stuns that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, the shield coming out of Stick Up is, nice, but honestly, the reflex would probably be the better focus to get to try and at least block some of the CC up so you could get in a safe position to team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
here we go. The counter rotation. Neglect comes down. The wolves do come out. Hot Noodles, he's going to drop immediately. Ooh, sorry about that. I just swallowed my own spit while I'm trying to talk.
Oh, that doesn't work very well usually when you're trying to talk. So, and Hazard picks up the ace here. It is 11-0. It's a 6,000 gold lead right now, and they are about to take the tier 2 turret. We didn't point it. We mentioned that it was probably going to be, but we never really pointed it out afterwards. It is the double weapon comp. And I got to tell you that the way this game is played out, I would have rather seen a crystal saw here, because you see these suppressing fires aren't doing anything. If he was a crystal saw, why you have your Grumpjaw and your Fortress diving in on the squishy, not going to build any defense Scarf and Celeste, they would just be getting deleted by a crystal suppression fire. If we go back to right before TuHotTuStress got aced in the jungle there, Scarf was powering up his ultimate, and Stick Up landed a beautiful suppression fire on Neglect, but because it was weapon power, all it did was slow him down a little bit, and he didn't need to chase anybody because the Grumpjaw and the Fortress were sitting right there in front of him. Had that been a crystal saw with a crystal powered suppression fire, that Scarf would have just been annihilated. He has no defense at all. He has 2, almost 3 tier 3 items.
Ooh, Luxion is walking into a 3-man team, but here comes Ascon rotating down, does get the Merciless Pursuit out on Stick Up. Stick Up is just kind of stuck in this position, not able to, it looks like the hanger here was picked up there by, or stuffed, I guess I should say, did pick up Luxion there and rotated him up, but it doesn't matter. Neglect comes down, gets out the damage he needs to get another ace.
Yeah, and you see there, they get the stuffed on the Celeste, but as soon as she's out, she's just able to stun the Saw, and because he has no reflex block. And so it takes all 3 of their team to kill a Celeste with no defense.
Yeah,
because there's a reflex block, and he got stunned by her core collapse.
Yeah, exactly. We see Stick Up here. He is, finally getting out some damage at least, but Neglect, he's just going to throw out those Spitfires, start rotating back. No Frostburn out right now on Neglect. Only this Eve and Broken Myth. So not getting that slow on them, but really he's really not needing it as of right now. See, Luxon is going that standard build on that Celeste as well. Going for that Broken Myth as that last item. We do see it engage here, possibly coming out of Hot Noodles. He is going to Grumpy away. Neglect, though, he is tasting down 2Gang. 2Gang is already dropping low. He's going to go ahead and most likely pick that up. He does, as we see Luxon throw out the Solar Storm and absolutely destroy them.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and there's not really much that Stick Up could do with this saw, but if you're going to go weapon power saw, you can't be at 12 minutes into the match, or 11 and a half, but it'll be 12 before he gets there, if not more. Can't be 12 minutes into a match and only have one tier 3 weapon power item.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, it's 70 CS as a Saul right now in this time. Normally Sauls, they have farmed up insane to this point. A late game Saul is normally struggles anyway, let alone a Saul that hasn't been able to get his farm up. We do see another engage coming out of 2Gang. He is the initiator here. I do not know why. He gets dropped immediately. Stick Up, he's going to get dropped. Maybe if Luxon can get on top of him, he's going to get another core collapse. Yep, Healer Genesis. And here comes the Dragon Breath to finish it up. Paired up with the Solar Storm, double ultimate. A little bit of style, stunting on him to finish this game.
Yeah, and I almost feel like it's just lemmings walking off a cliff. 2Gang just walks out there and starts pawing at Luxon while they all burst him down, and Stick Up in Hot Noodles are standing in the background. And then when 2Gang dies, then the other ones engage, and it's just like one by one they just walk to their death. This game was over in the draft as far as I'm concerned, but then on top of it, there's a way that comp could have worked, but you needed the Crystal Saw, or you just needed to forego the defense, because as a saw, especially a weapon saw, you need to just push turrets. He did too much wandering around the map. Your job is to push turrets, and honestly, your best defense is to just, especially against a Celeste and a Scarf that don't have any defense either, just build massive weapon power and delete people in 4 or 5 shots. That is your best defense as a weapon saw. But because he got behind, and because there was just too much coming out of this comp, which was a great comp drafted by Hazard, he felt like he had to go defense. And then when he did go defense, he didn't even build a reflex block, so he couldn't stop any of the stuns. And that's why this match was just so one-sided. There was nothing that they could do into that comp.
Yeah. So, GG's a Hazard, not only mechanically playing well, drafting extremely smart, and TuHotTuStress. They tried a little different strategies here. They just didn't quite work out for them this time. So GG's to both teams.
Yeah, GG's to both teams, pulling out some different stuff, some surprise picks. Definitely the sauce was a surprise for me. But they were trying new stuff. I would like to see some of these teams try a little more meta comps that have been proven to work, because when you're going 1-24, these tricky little comps are just, it's not getting it done.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, I am endless. I was joined with Belligerent. Great job. Sorry I almost died there in the middle of that team fight earlier.
Well, you wanted to be part of the fun, and you were feeling left out, so you were going to try and get yourself there. So.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's been a great time casting this match with you, and we will see you guys soon. Thanks for watching the NACL stream here on Twitch, and the matches that you just saw between TuHotTuStress and Hazard.